It's the most expensive arms race in human history. In 2025, nations poured a record-breaking $2.9 trillion into their militaries, even as they wrestled with crippling debt, inflation, and fragile economies. Governments are building stockpiles of tanks, jets, and missiles at a pace not seen since the Cold War. But here's the paradox. Almost no country can actually afford the wars they're preparing to fight. The United States leads the way. In 2024, it spent $895 billion on defense. More than the next 10 countries combined. That's more than the GDP of Switzerland, Denmark, and Sweden put together. But the hidden costs are staggering. Take artillery. Before Russia invaded Ukraine, America produced about 14,000 shells a month. Ukraine now burns through that in 2 weeks. To keep up, US factories run 24/7, but each shell costs thousands of dollars. Every round that rolls off the assembly line represents a fraction of an American family's tax bill, and the fiscal strain is showing. For the first time in US history, interest payments on the national debt rival defense spending, topping $640 billion a year. Washington is fighting a financial war at home just to maintain readiness abroad. Then there's China. Officially, Beijing claims its defense budget is $296 billion. Western analysts say the real number is closer to $450 billion. Thanks to hidden programs, dual-use tech, and off-book nuclear projects, China now has the world's largest navy by ship count. It has doubled its nuclear arsenal since 2020 and fields hypersonic missiles that current American defenses cannot intercept. Every Chinese breakthrough forces Washington to respond with billion-dollar countermeasures, creating the world's most expensive chess match, and one that neither side can quit. In Europe, Russia's invasion of Ukraine shattered decades of complacency. Germany, long reluctant to spend, committed €100 billion to modernization, pushing its defense budget above NATO's 2% GDP target. Poland went even further, devoting 4% of GDP to defense, the highest in NATO, and ordering over 1,400 tanks, more than any European neighbor. Even neutral Sweden reintroduced conscription, built underground bunkers, and joined NATO alongside Finland, ending neutrality that lasted through 2 world wars. And it isn't just governments preparing. In 2018, Sweden mailed every household a Cold War-era style pamphlet titled, "If Crisis or War Comes." It instructed citizens on stockpiling food, finding bomb shelters, and spotting disinformation. What seemed unthinkable just a decade ago is now national policy. The arms race in Asia is just as intense. Japan, shackled by a pacifist constitution since 1945, now spends over $50 billion a year on defense, its largest budget since World War II. Debt is already 260% of GDP. But Tokyo plans to raise spending 65% in just 5 years. Australia signed a $368 billion nuclear submarine deal under the AUKUS Pact. Critics call it the worst deal in history, warning the boats won't arrive until the 2040s. Yet, Canberra insists the price is worth it to counter China. India, facing pressure from both Pakistan and China, is pouring over $75 billion into defense annually. Even the Philippines, once inward-looking, is spending $35 billion on military modernization. Together, these moves show a region bracing for a potential conflict centered on Taiwan. A flashpoint that could reshape the global economy overnight. But here's where the math turns brutal. Modern warfare is eye-wateringly expensive. An F-35 fighter jet costs $80 to $100 million each. The new B-21 Raider stealth bomber, about $2 billion per plane. A single hypersonic missile costs over $14 million. In Ukraine, American HIMARS rockets cost $168,000 each. Precision-guided shells run $100,000 apiece. Ukrainian artillery crews have been known to burn through $50,000 of ammunition every single minute. Even defensive systems drain treasuries. The U.S. Army's new air defense units cost upwards of $4 billion per battalion, and may be obsolete within 5 years. This is the classic security dilemma. One country rearms, rivals react, and costs spiral. Russia rattles its nuclear arsenal. China builds aircraft carriers. America builds submarines. The US arms Ukraine. Moscow produces more missiles. Everyone insists they're acting defensively, yet everyone else sees aggression. The result is the world's most expensive game of chicken, and nobody dares to blink first. The deeper danger isn't just the spending, it's the debt behind it. The US federal debt hit $34 trillion in 2024, and is rising by $1 trillion every 100 days. The Congressional Budget Office calls this unsustainable. Japan's debt is 260% of GDP, the highest in the developed world. Yet, Tokyo is adding tens of billions in new defense spending. Italy, with debt at 144% of GDP, should be cutting costs. Instead, it's pushing to meet NATO's 2% threshold by reclassifying public projects, like the world's longest suspension bridge, as national security expenditures. It's creative accounting, but it shows the desperation of governments trapped between military obligations and economic reality. And war isn't just fought with missiles anymore. Cyber war flips the cost equation. Offense is cheap, but defense is astronomically expensive. Estonia spends about $50 million annually protecting its networks. The US pours nearly $10 billion into Cyber Command, with billion-dollar contracts to companies like Microsoft and Google for infrastructure that didn't even exist a decade ago. Even financial systems are being militarized. Switzerland, famous for neutrality, quietly modernized its alpine fortifications and authorized $6.5 billion for American F-35s. Its banks, meanwhile, now run economic warfare task forces to prepare for possible exclusion from global payment systems. The most dangerous scenario is Taiwan. Half the world's advanced semiconductors, the chips in every iPhone, car, and missile, are made within 100 miles of the potential invasion zone. War games predict catastrophic outcomes. Even a mild Chinese blockade could strangle global trade. A full invasion could trigger a $10 trillion global economic shock overnight. Military analysts agree. The US might win the battle but lose the peace, bleeding its economy for decades in a war that could last just months. History offers grim reminders. The Soviet Union bankrupted itself trying to keep pace with the US during the Cold War. Britain won World War II, but emerged broke and stripped of its empire. At the height of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, America was spending $12 billion a month, and still struggled to achieve lasting stability. The pattern is clear. Wars are easier to start than to pay for. Today, nearly every nation is caught in the same trap. The US races China. China races America. Europe scrambles against Russia. Asia braces for Taiwan. Smaller states stretch their budgets to keep up, even when it means cutting health, education, or infrastructure. As military budgets soar while national debts climb to historic highs, the fundamental question remains: are nations preparing for security or for mutual destruction? Because, in their desperate bid to prevent annihilation, The world's powers may already have guaranteed it. So, what do you think? Are we headed for catastrophe, or can we survive? Let us know in the comments. And why don't you enjoy another one of our videos from Explained?